Addiction, how really, was it really serious or was it just something?
Yeah, I discovered a cache of letters between Isabel Patterson and Rand about her use of amphetamines when she was trying to finish the Fountainhead under a very strict deadline. And Isabel Patterson was warning her even then that she was taking too much of this medicine, that it would get her in years to come. And there are varying stories about how much she took, whether she changed her dose or not. I don't know what the answer is. Some people say that she gulped some down when she wanted to stay up all night. In any case, it was a serious addiction. She stopped when she had lung cancer, and so that suggests that she didn't have the DTs or anything, but she was dependent on it.
Yes, Alan Greenspan was a devotee of Ayn Rand. Did she come up in any of your research other than his devotion to her writings?
Did he come up in any of my research?
Yes.
I didn't look into Alan Greenspan any more deeply than, to find out how he met her, what he liked about her, how she used his knowledge and skill, and how he continued, even after a lot of people had drifted away, to support her over the years until her death. That's all I really know. I do know that he seemed last October, when he spoke before a congressional committee about the financial meltdown, he seemed to be saying that for the first time in his life, he was considering the proposition that he and Ayn Rand, he didn't mention her name, were both wrong when they held that businessmen could regulate themselves because they would not ever do anything wrong because their long-term interest relied on their reputation and their honor. I find that really weird, but that seemed to be what he was saying, that he hadn't reconsidered that until now.
Have you had any reaction to your book from any of the people who are still her acolytes or in her inner circle?
The people who are closest to her, who are not keepers of the flame, have really, really liked the book, and that's heartened me a lot. I don't know what the reaction of it's only been out for a week, so maybe I'll hear from them. I don't know. They didn't welcome me into their midst, and some of them have a practice of not reading the books of enemies because that would be like, supporting the enemy.
We have time for one more question over here.
Sorry, it's a bit of a two-parter. I've encountered a lot of people who have a vehement hatred of Ayn Rand without really knowing her ideas or much about her, and I was wondering what you think really contributes to that, and also how her atheism, do you think, colored public opinion of her?
Yeah, those are two good questions. Her dear friend Isabel Patterson and others warned her not to make a big deal out of her atheism because it was just going to lose her readers and alienate people. But she decided she didn't believe in God when she was 13 years old, and she built her system of ideas block by block upon the premise that what you see is all there is. And so she wasn't about to try to hide that. What's the other question?
People who hate her.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I guess, when I was younger, if you'd mentioned Ayn Rand's name, when we were all so polarized about things, I would have, foamed at the mouth or something. But at the time I started the book, it seemed to me that, capitalism versus socialism, left versus right, these things were, that they were old battles that were no longer fought on the same old terms. And we could take a new look at Ayn Rand and see exactly what she had to say without going berserk in one way or another. It's turned out that polarization is back, which, changes the whole game. I belong to a biographers group, and they asked me to present something about my book about a year before I finished the book. And I talked about it a little bit. And one woman got, she was getting angrier and angrier. And she finally, when the question and answer period came, she said, "How can you write about that woman? Don't you feel guilty writing about that woman?" For me, ideas are very, very interesting. She didn't kill anybody that I know of. And her ideas are there to be examined, and they kind of speak for themselves once you start to look at them and how they played out in her own life. So, I don't know.
Well, thank you so much. Anne Heller is going to stick around and answer any other questions. She's going to sign copies of her book for you. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to Anne Heller.
Thank you very much.
And you can see upcoming events at strandbooks.com. Thank you all for coming tonight.